Good evening, social media. Welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. My name is Earl Rush, and I will be the moderator this evening. Later on in the show, we will catch up with our correspondent, Lauren Lassiter. But for now, let me introduce our main panel. Let's start off with David Burnett from Indianapolis. David, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, wearing my Ball State Cardinals hat.
Notice
And, I got to celebrate the Cardinals, even though they're not the best sports school in America. But we do have David Letterman, and that's all that matters.
Okay, all right. And then let's go over to my man, Charles Snowden from Washington, D.C. Charles, how are you today?
Go. I'm doing great. And I want to get a shout out to you real quick. I know you got a birthday coming up here in a day or two. And I hope to celebrate it with you this weekend. So want to get that in. I look forward to the show, big fella.
Okay. And I'm talking to our main man, Larry Abels, who I've been friends with for over, say, 55 years. I don't know. I'm not trying to. I think it might have been longer than that. It might be 60. But anyway, that has nothing to do with sports. Let's go into sports. Larry, how are you today?
I'm great, Earl. How about you?
I'm doing well. Let's get straight to the show. We have a lot to cover, and I'm going to try to make our 45-minute time limit. I doubt if that happens, but I'm going to try my best. So let's get on to the show. Let's start off with the NCAA Final Four. Did the committee get it right? I'll start with you, David Burnett.
They got what they wanted to get. Did they get it right? No. There's no way that Florida State should have been eliminated, but at the same time, they pay homage to the SEC. SEC allegedly the best conference, and Alabama allegedly the most celebrated school. So they weren't going to leave Alabama out. I knew Florida State was dead meat the moment that happened. So no, they didn't get it right.
Okay. All right. So David, who would have been your Final Four? Seriously, all jokes aside, who would have been your Final Four?
I like everybody that they got in there. I like the fact that Michigan is in. I like the fact that Washington is in. That's, those two were locks. Now, should Georgia have been in? No. I think it's okay. I do think it's okay. The only team that I have a problem with is the fact that Florida State was passed over. At some point, this is all going to be water under the bridge in next season when 12 teams are allowed in. But then again, the 13th team who doesn't make it is going to argue about it too.
Okay, all right. Shout out to our man Kung Fu CJ. He agreed with David before David even finished, but I'm not going to be picky. Let's move on. Let's move on.
What's up, Carol?
Carol, how you doing? Charles Snowden, do you think they got it right?
Well, I have to agree with both David and Kung Fu. They did not get it right. And Florida State should have been in. Alabama should have been out. There should not have been any teams from the SEC, unfortunately.
Amen.
And I really feel bad for the kids at Florida State because all you can do is go 13-0. That's all you can do. And to be shut out from that is.
All right. How would you have fixed it, Charles?
I would have fixed it by not having Alabama in and having Florida State in. So I would have had, as David mentioned, Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Florida State.
Okay. So basically, even though Alabama beat the number one team in the country for the last 2 going on 3 years, you still wouldn't allow them. They should have moved up from 8 all the way up to the top 4. That's what you're telling me.
Yep, they should have fell out.
Okay. Mr. Abels, your situation, what do you think about it?
I agree with what both of my esteemed colleagues said previously, except for one word Chuck said, unfortunately. I don't even feel unfortunately. I feel some of the things you just mentioned, Earl, that they've won 3 years in a row.
So what?
I don't think that's relevant to this year. I'm not giving them a lifetime award this year. Florida State should have been there.
Okay, I think we've got everybody's opinion on that. Okay, so
Can I make another comment about it though, Earl?
Sure you can.
So I don't know what year exactly that was, maybe 2014 or whatever. Ohio State had a third string quarterback named Cardale Jones. And Cardale, in the Michigan game, Ohio State Michigan game, the starting quarterback, and it might have been, I don't know if that was Barnett. But anyway, the starting quarterback went down and the backup quarterback went down. And Cardale led them over to win the Big Ten championship game. He won the Sugar Bowl game, and then he won the national championship game. And he was their third string quarterback. And as we all know, Foles led the Eagles to a Super Bowl, and that was their backup quarterback. So this garbage about backup quarterbacks and losing a player and all that nonsense, I'm not the one. I think Florida State got hosed big time.
Let me say a shout out to my man, James Robinson. James Robinson, we go way, way, way back when I was a reporter at WHIO TV in Dayton, Ohio. And James was out there shooting and doing all those things and rising through the ranks to become a big-time executive at WHIO. James, good to see you. He taught me how to skate, too. Roller skate.
Welcome, James.
Hey,
Welcome, James.
Thanks for joining the show.
All right.
Hey, Earl, I want to jump on, say something else beyond what Chuck said.
Okay.
You know, we have a poll. They're number 4. I have a very hard time seeing how Florida State wins with their third string quarterback, and they're punished for that. They're when you think of their third string quarterback playing, that means their offense really wasn't doing that well. But yet they held down a ranked team because their defense was that good. And just 2 weeks before, Alabama barely gets by a 6-16 because that team was stupid enough only to run, or too stupid to rush more than 2 people on 4th down. I don't see how they jumped that far.
They're Alabama. They're Alabama.
Lifetime achievement award, huh?
Yep, absolutely. Nick Saban.
I'm actually shocked that Georgia and Alabama aren't in there, but let's move on. We're on this time limit.
One more thing. The bottom 4, well, not the bottom 4, but the teams that are 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, which is Ohio State, Oregon, Florida State, and Georgia. I'm not too sure that 4 ain't better than the 4 that's in the top 4. That's how close it is, quite frankly.
Well, that's why 12 teams next season is great.
And let me ask you this, David and Larry and Charles. How far do you think this playoff will end up? Do you think it'll end up to be like 64, like this NCAA basketball? Because every year someone's not going to be satisfied.
Right.
Do you think there'll be a limit to what they'll offer as far as the playoff spot? Will there be more than 12? That's what I'm thinking.
I think it's possible because keep in mind the other divisions of college football have long had 16 teams for years, and it's worked out fine. And you know all this talk about they're going to miss their studies. Oh, come on, these guys aren't studying anyway, so it's not a big issue. It's possible it could go to 16 once the argument starts happening over 13, 14, and 15. Why didn't we make it? Because it's going to be an argument. Just like it's an argument over the 69th team that doesn't make the NCAA basketball.
Right. What do you think, Larry?
Well, I agree with David. I think the maximum of 16 probably is foreseeable. I wouldn't lose any sleep over team number 17 or even team number 13 at this point. I have more of a heartburn when a team like Florida State that wins their conference and their so-called Power 5 conference or Power 4 conference now is excluded.
First time ever a team is undefeated from the Power 5 that goes undefeated does not get into the Final Four. First time.
One quick thing, though. Keep in mind, remember, Washington is going to the Big Ten, and Texas is going to the SEC. So really, this is a glorified SEC versus Big Ten Final Four, because next season that's what they'll be.
So I discussed this with Larry yesterday. David and Charles, do you guys have any knowledge of whether they will have a league that will replace the Pac-10 or Pac-12, or will it now just be the Big Four conference and not the top Big Five?
I certainly don't have any insight on it. I know that initially the Pac-12, when they lost USC and UCLA, were scrambling to get teams like Boise State and some others to form a reconfigured Pac-12, but that fell through the cracks. So I don't think there will be a new Pac-12. I think it's over.
Okay, all right. So we're going from the Big Five, top five to Big Four. Okay.
I think that what we're really, even when we're talking about the big five or whatever, it was a bunch of schools really making sure they got all the money. So I don't see them spreading it out to anyone else. Now they have four, they'll just go with four. And they only have 4 buys anyway. So that'll make it a lot simpler going forward. Each conference winner is going to get an automatic buy. Each conference champion is going to get an automatic buy. This is like simpler.
All right. Charles, right quick, who are your top Heisman candidates?
It's a good question. Go. Mine, this is Charles's, which is who you asked. I think it's Pennick. I think it's Jaden Daniels, and then it's Bo Nix. That's how I would do it if I were voting.
Is with the Ohio State receiver? He's not on your list. You didn't name him, so I guess he's not on your list. That was a dumb question. Okay,
I'm not suggesting he's not. I'm not suggesting he's not the best player. I don't know even about that because there are a lot of good wide receivers, but the reality is he's not on my list. You're right.
Okay, so your top candidates for the Heisman, David Burnett.
Unfortunately, I have not seen tape of Jaden Daniels play. All I know is statistically, I hear about the statistics, and statistics win out oftentimes. On paper, he probably should win because he's a quarterback. It's a quarterback award almost exclusively anymore, save for the guy that came out of LSU a couple of years ago. Alabama, the receiver from Alabama who won the Heisman. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player. He should have won the Heisman Trophy last year. He's just an outstanding wide receiver, and he can catch anything and everything. At some point, the Heisman should go back and include more players than just quarterbacks.
All right, Larry Abels, do you have any Heisman candidates?
I'm from the David Burnett school. I'm tired of the bias toward wide receivers quarterbacks. And before that, I was tired of the bias toward quarterbacks and running backs. I don't think enough wide receivers nor defensive players. Charles Woodson might have been the last defensive player to win it.
Yep.
That said, get off my horse. I think the quarterback from LSU will get it.
I hope he's probably will, but he probably will get it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So time to move over to. Does anybody have anything to say about the NCAA Final Four or anything about the NCAA football before we move on?
Well, Earl, I would love to get your thoughts. I know you're moderating, but I'd love to get your thoughts on those Final Four. Do you think they got it right?
Oh no, I thought you had heard what I said already. No, they didn't get it right. I would have had Georgia, Alabama, Washington, and Michigan. Those would have been my.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to go over to the NFL and see if we can check in with our correspondent, Lauren Laster. Let's see if I can catch up with her. Lauren, how are you today?
Hey,
I'm
Lauren.
great. How you doing?
How you doing?
You guys heard my police escort bringing me in.
All right. Okay. And Lauren is Larry Abel's niece, I believe.
His favorite niece, yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Just like we have competitors on this show, they have competitors in the Abels family because Lauren's sister Sharice thinks that she's Larry's favorite niece. So what can we say? All right. Okay. So the NFL. Now, what was the big game? What was everyone's big game of the week? I would imagine it would be Philadelphia and San Francisco. No? Well, let's talk about that game first before we move any further. Your thoughts on the game, Larry Abels?
It turned out the way I thought it would turn out. I think anybody that tuned in last week remember that I picked San Francisco without even hesitating. Went against the sports doctor, but I thought it was a great game. San Francisco really looked ready. Philadelphia had gone through a pretty tough stretch before that, and they won 3 out of 4 real competitive games. They was bound to lose a game. No shame in losing to San Francisco.
Okay. David, your thoughts on that game? Did you catch it?
I did. I think San Francisco, when healthy, with all their pieces, they're going to be hard to stop. And Brock Purdy, I know we're going to talk about him in a few minutes, but Brock Purdy hits all the notes. He's certainly a legitimate candidate for MVP now. Once again, but San Francisco has everything. When they're playing with all their pieces, they're just hard to stop. They got a good defense. They got offense. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs that I've seen in a long time. And, now he's not getting injured. Now we can see his full array of weapons. And he's a case study in why running backs need to make more money and need to be compensated better, because he's arguably their best player, or 1, 2, 3 best players, and he's making probably the 20th highest salary. It's not fair.
Yeah. Hey, Charles Jackson. Good
What's up,
to hear
Charles?
from you. Good to get you back on the show.
Well, we try to cut down on the Knicks fans, being on the show, because we try to cut out, just when you root for the Knicks. I don't know, but I love Charles, so we will get him back on the show. I am discriminating against Knicks fans and Commander fans. All right. So, all right, who's left? Is it Lauren? Did you check the show?
I did. I watched it. Philly got their butts kicked, but again, the 49ers are a very good team, and they showed that, we want to be in the top too. Like, don't forget about us. We're trying to make a push too for people to know who we are. And it was a well-fought game by them. They really annihilated them from the beginning to the end. I was a little nervous when Hurt went out with the concussion, or the possibility of a concussion. That had me sweating, but it was good to see him come back on the field and finish out the game. So, and they'll be back next week. This next week is going to be even better. So they'll be okay.
Okay. Charles Nolan, your thoughts?
Well, you're right, Lauren. I hope they beat those Cowboys. Go
yes.
Eagles, go Eagles. Right.
Yes.
I was very impressed with the San Francisco 49ers. And like David said, and like Lauren just said, when those pieces are all intact and they're out there on the field, from Trent Williams to Debo to Ayuk to Brock to Christian, they are tough to stop, man. And he ain't got to throw it 40, 50 yards down the field. He can just throw it 10, 12, 15 yards, and they'll do the rest of the work. They're a really good team. And I was surprised, to be honest with you, them flying 3,000 miles to Philadelphia, beating them in Philly. I saw that Philly was a 3-point underdog, and I was surprised at that. And with San Francisco, my God, they look great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. David, can you enlighten me on why they're talking about Brock Purdy and they're talking about Dak Prescott in the MVP race? Their name should be in the MVP race. But my question to you, David, why is no one talking about Tua?
I think Tua still has some issues, that people are not going to get over quickly, about his multiple concussions, his not laser strength arm, and the fact that he's got one of the fastest receivers in the history of the NFL to throw to. So he's not going to get the kind of credit, and he's left-handed. I think all of those things sadly work against him. But the reality is Brock Purdy is on arguably the best team in football. Dak Prescott is on the most popular team in the history of the NFL. And, those two are going to get an inordinate amount of attention because of the teams that they play on. I think Jackson from Baltimore should be in the discussion as well as Jalen Hurts. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, the only reason why I asked is because they have one of the best records in the NFL. Miami does. That no one ever talks about them. Tyree Hill, even though you and Larry are correct, it seems like they're basically making the MVP award a quarterback award, what they've been all these years. Tyreek Hill is breaking the record is on pace to break the record for receiving yards, and I haven't heard too many people mention him either as far as MVP. So I just don't know what's going on. Larry, do you any reason besides Tua being left-handed that he's not in the talk for MVP?
Well,
Sorry, Steve Young.
I'll get there. Yeah, how about that? The two quarterbacks that you mentioned, Brock and Dak, I think is recency bias. They won big games lately, so particularly Brock. I think people are looking at them. Tua doesn't have a signature win this year. That's probably the thing that's really holding him back, because he certainly handles the ball well. He does some real slick stuff with his fakes and passing. He should be considered in one of the top quarterbacks or players for the MVP. My personal choice still would probably be Hurts right now, but Tua wins, or Jackson in Baltimore. But if Tua, I think he's in the running. He could be in the running. They need to win a couple of games.
Charles, your thoughts on that situation?
I can't believe I'm getting ready to say what I'm going to say. I think if the season ended right now, I think Brock Purdy would be the league MVP.
Oh, my.
I know. And I mean, he's against the big teams, the Seattles, the Dallases, the Philadelphia. That offense has looked incredible. And so I got to give him, he's controlled that thing. He's the point guard on that team. He directs that traffic. And if the season ended today, I'd say it's Brock Purdy. And I'm a big Lamar fan. And I think I think Hurts is good too. But in the head-to-head this past weekend, that's what I have to give it to.
Purdy won.
Yeah.
Lauren, do you have any thoughts on that, or do you want us to move on to another subject?
I agree with everything you all said, and I just want to say Dak Prescott will never be in the conversation for me, but that's just a biased opinion. But the other gentleman that you named, great candidates.
Is that only because he's a foe of the highly rated Commanders? Is that why?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Let's move on.
He'll have a chance to elevate himself this weekend. Let's see how he does. He hasn't beat a winning team this year, a team with a winning record, Dak. So let's see what he does this weekend.
Well, I mean,
Who do they have, Miami this week?
No, they have the
Philadelphia. Yep.
But I think they have to play Miami at some point this season too, so that ought to be interesting.
Yeah.
McCaffrey's playing well, but I don't see the MVP. Everybody's talking about him MVP. You know what? I think I have to come to the conclusion I'm really not the sports doctor, because some of these guys that you got, everyone's high on them but me. I don't see.
Well, can I offer some insight as to maybe why McCaffrey is being considered? He's leading the league in touchdown runs, rushing. He's a great pass catcher. He's elusive. He's the most elusive running back in the NFL now. And, I never would have thought, I know this is going to be controversial, what I'm about to say, but all of us talk about it in the barbershop. There are not very many white running backs that are effective anymore, but he's the shiftiest, slickest running back I've seen in a long time, black or white. And I think that that's a factor too. The fact that, you could possibly reward a guy at a non-traditional position.
A non-traditional position or non-traditional guy?
Non-traditional guy, non-traditional position. Yeah.
Okay. So, seems like Kung Fu and David are agreeing on a lot of stuff here.
I have not met Kung Fu, or do I know him?
No,
Yeah, he was
you
on
might
the
not have
show.
been on the show.
He was on the show the same time Lauren was on the first time.
Okay.
I don't think David was on it. Did we have that many people on
I don't
there?
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
No, it
six
was everybody.
people. We had six
Yep.
people.
His real name is Carol.
Carol.
Okay. All right. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. So let me ask you this, Larry Abels. Are Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans, are they legitimate contenders right now, in your opinion?
Maybe because the division that they play in, they can contenders to make the playoffs. I don't think they'll go very deep, but they're decent teams. They're teams on the rise, and Jacksonville's quarterback is out, so that might just about do it for them. But no,
David,
I can't keep them away from them.
I'm sorry, Larry.
No problem.
David, are Jacksonville and Houston legitimate contenders?
Well, they're showing that the AFC South is coming back because you keep in mind Houston is above water, Jacksonville's above water, and of all teams, the Indianapolis Colts are above water. Those are 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC South. So anything can happen in the NFL. You just don't know, and injuries, weather. Particularly this time of year, Trevor Lawrence getting hurt with his ankle, getting stepped on by his teammate, stepped dead on his ankle. He'll be okay, but I've never thought Trevor Lawrence was quite as good as the media wants to make him out to be. But he's pretty good. But the guy that came in for him was not that bad.
Chuck, your thoughts? Houston and Jacksonville legitimate contenders?
I do. I mean, like you all have just said, anything can happen in that league. I think we thought the same thing about Cincinnati a couple of years ago, and they got all the way, beat Kansas City, et cetera. So, and even Jacksonville had a playoff win last year, I think. So I think both teams, given how injuries will happen over the next 5 weeks, keep an eye on them because both of them got good quarterbacks. And I think I think both have good coaches. So it'll be interesting to see. What's interesting about the Houston team, is that trade with Watson has given them a lot of pieces and draft choices, and those pieces and those young players are starting to pay off. Houston's a team to watch over the next couple of years.
Lauren Lassiter, your thoughts on Houston and wow.
Jacksonville.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way you all do. Like, they could make a push for it. They won't go very far, but they're definitely in the middle, like when they're in the hunt and they want it badly. Jacksonville, I'm not too sure about because of the injury, but the Texans, you just really never know with that division. But I think that they could get there, but I don't think they'll make it far.
Okay, let's stay with you, Lauren. If you're running the Jets organization, would you let Zach Wilson come back into the lineup?
I literally wrote down, it doesn't even matter. Like, they could, if they just want to give him some more experience. Their team is not going anywhere. This is a throwaway season for them. So it really does not matter. Let him play if you want to. Give him some more experience. See if he gets better. And maybe they'll win a few more games, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Larry Evans, would you let Zach Wilson back into the lineup?
No. Let's put it this way. It seems like he didn't want to play. He don't want to play. He doesn't get to play.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. We got a good pace on the show, but I don't want to stop him. What do you mean? What does it seem like he doesn't? Can you explain that? What you mean by it seems like he doesn't want to play? Even though
The issue came up that he didn't want to. He wasn't sure he wanted to go back into the game. Why are we even having this conversation? Because he must have told someone that he wasn't sure he wanted to play.
No, I think the team just wanted to get rid of him until they started doing stuff to throw him under the bus. I don't know.
So you think the team made that up?
Usually, let me ask you this. How do you think people found out about who let the film out about Draymond punching Poole in the face? You think somebody on the team did it?
Yeah.
Anytime they say sources, it's somebody on the team. Not any time, but a lot of times when they say sources, it's usually
But,
someone.
but my point is, I think it's likely to be true, regardless of who let it out. And if it's some issue of him wanting to play, and he really is not that good anyway,
Wow.
kind of like I agree with Lauren, it really doesn't make any difference.
Remember when? What's the other quarterback that they drafted a couple of years ago? High, and he was shell shocked with the Jets.
Yeah, he went to the Panthers when they got
What's his name?
or something like that.
And it's something about the Jets. They haven't been worth a damn since Joe Namath. I mean, really. I mean, they've had opportunities to be a decent team, but there's always some problem. There's always something going on with the Jets, and they're just kind of the other team in New York, and always have been.
So, David, would you let him play?
No.
See?
He's bad. The only reason we're talking about him is because he was the number 2 pick in 21. And he should be cut, and he should be playing in Canada or trying to get on like a commentator or something. But what would he commentate? How to be a bad quarterback?
Yikes.
Okay. Charles, your thoughts on that situation?
I agree with Lauren and Larry and David. I think he's played his last game in New York. I really have.
Kung
Fu, even when they had MG, they weren't anything. So I don't even understand.
Mark Gastineau.
Yeah.
The sack king.
Yeah, sack master.
Sack dance.
Who was the other guy on the other side? It was
Joe Flacco.
Flacco, something like that.
Flacco.
This is one of the few times that we agree. That I agree with David. The Jets haven't been anything since Joe Namath. And you know what? I must have been bored or something. I don't even know why I even made this a topic on this show. Just like Larry said, why are we even talking about him? I apologize. Let's move on to a subject that's more relevant and people might be wanting to comment on. Larry Abels, are the Chiefs still a serious contender?
Well, I think they're serious, but I don't think they're the prohibitive favorite that many of us, including me, may have thought they were at the start of the year. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure they're the favorite at all in the AFC. I kind of like Baltimore a little better.
Okay. Charles Snowden, your thoughts?
As long as Patrick Mahomes is back there and that defense is better, I still think they're one of the teams to beat. My goodness, what happens if the receivers start catching the ball?
Well,
hey, Chuck, were they dropping it Sunday? Were they dropping?
No, Sunday was a different issue.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Lauren, you think the Chiefs are still a serious contender?
Absolutely. I agree.
They're contenders and they're serious contenders. Do you think they're a serious contender?
Yes, I do. As long as they have Patrick Mahomes and he who should not be mentioned on the podcast, they'll be okay.
Okay.
David, did you address this?
The Chiefs are still the Chiefs, but they are vulnerable, and it's obvious. And no team stays on top of the mountain in the NFL forever. It's just other than the Patriots, who kind of retooled over the years, and now they've hit rock bottom. I think the Chiefs are not going to be in the Super Bowl, and they're not that good of a team compared to the other Chiefs teams. I would say they're probably 20-30% worse off right now. And Patrick Mahomes, as good as he is, hasn't been the best Patrick Mahomes we've seen. This is one of his, for a great player. So I'm being critical to a certain degree, but this isn't one of his best seasons at all. Not even close.
All right. Lauren, this next topic, you may know about the person that's included. You may not. So I won't be surprised if you can comment on it.
Okay.
The comment is, I'll start with Larry Abels first. Are people delusional when they say that Michael Parsons is the latter-day Lawrence Taylor?
There's a literary term called hyperbole, you know, j- loosely defined as exaggeration to try to, make a point. No way is he as good as Lawrence Taylor. I want to learn about this, but we might be talking about somebody who was played before she was born, which really doesn't seem that long ago, does it, guys? But no, he's not. I mean, Lawrence Taylor was like the Exorcist. I mean, you couldn't stop him. No way, he's not even in the same class with him. Which is
David, your thoughts
no
on that?
knock
Okay,
on him.
I'm sorry.
No
Larry.
knock on him. No knock on him.
Parsons
Yeah.
is a good player. He's a very good player, but everybody wants to compare. We always compare. We compare on every position. Is anybody Joe Montana, and is anybody Patrick Mahomes? Blah blah blah. We just do that. That's
Michael
who we
Jordan.
are. I think Micah Parsons is pretty darn good. Is he Lawrence Taylor? Lawrence Taylor is one of the all-time greats. So no, he's not. He's not Lawrence Taylor.
Okay. Charles, are they delusional or
I don't even have anything to add because I think you guys have said that really, really well. And no way. And I think he's a good player. And I hate to even say that about a Cowboy, but he's no way in the same as Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence was great. Lawrence Taylor was sick. He was sick.
Okay? We're doing a good time here. Let me get everybody's top 4 or 5. For some weeks, everybody can't even name 5 because they don't even think that highly of them. Lauren, let's start with you. Your top 4 to 5 teams in the NFL today.
Today, I got the Eagles, Baltimore, 49ers, Lions, and I'm keeping Kansas City in my top 5.
Okay, I'm sorry, Laura. I should have been a little bit more specific. I'd like for you to say the teams in their order.
Oh, in their order? Okay. Eagles, 49ers, Baltimore, Lions, Kansas City.
Okay. All right. Charles, your top 5.
I like the 49ers, Philly, Baltimore, Miami. I'm going to put Detroit in there. I won't get a chance to do that too often, so I'm going to put Detroit at 5.
David, your top 4 to 5 teams.
I would be mirroring Chuck. 49ers are the number 1 team right now until proven otherwise. Eagles, Ravens, Cowboys, and then the Lions, with the Chiefs and the Bills, eventually, depending on how we wind up these last 6 weeks of the season, one of those two are going to make it into the playoffs, and one of them is going to be left out. Probably the Bills, but it could be the Chiefs. I just don't have a good feeling about the Chiefs this season.
Okay. Larry Abels, did I start with you or have you addressed this issue?
No, I need to tell everybody what the top 5 teams are.
Okay. All right.
Number 1, San Francisco. Number 2, Philadelphia. Number 3, Baltimore. Number 4, Miami. And number 5, Dallas.
Okay.
Uncle Larry.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Hey, Lauren, I'm not a fan, but they're pretty good.
Oh, come on, Larry.
Does anybody have anything they want to discuss in the NFL that I might have left out?
I want to make just a small point, and it's kind of a patting myself on the back a little bit. 3 weeks ago or so, I said to Larry, watch out for the 49ers. They're still really, really good. And Larry kind of challenged that a little bit back then. And now it's good to see him have them as the number 1 team right now.
They're the number 1 team because 3 weeks ago they had lost 3 games in a row.
Right.
So I think I said they were struggling back then, and they were,
Well, there was a reason why they weren't fully loaded. They weren't fully healthy. So.
Hey, man, everybody has injuries, right?
Okay. Anyone else want to cover anything on the NFL before we move on?
Yeah, Chuck, I'm gonna get you back for taking that shot at me. Indiana, Chuck. Okay.
Okay. All righty. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the NFL.
You mean NBA?
Move on to the NBA. And I haven't had any monkey paw today either. Oh my gosh. All right. The NBA. All right. Your thoughts on the in-season tournament, Lauren?
The top teams in there right now, I would not have predicted them at all. I think it's been kind of exciting to see teams that you didn't expect to go as far really put forth that effort and show like we want to win some sort of championship. It may not be the big one we all talk about, but we want to be contenders. We want you all to talk about us. We want you to watch the games. So I think it's been pretty exciting for the most part.
Okay. All right. David, your thoughts
You know who I'm pulling for. My all-time favorite sports team, the Indiana Pacers. They have played so well, been undefeated in the tournament. I will say this. They have a chance to knock off Milwaukee. They've already beat Milwaukee earlier this season, but this is for the money, or we're getting close to the money. I think the key to the game is not going to be Tyrese Halliburton, who is playing at an all-pro level, but it's going to be how much can Miles Turner impact Giannis Antetokounmpo? Can he at least get in his way, stay out of foul trouble? If so, I say the Pacers beat Milwaukee tomorrow afternoon in Vegas and play probably, I believe it or not, I think they'll end up playing the Pelicans. Two teams that don't get talked about a lot playing each other for something, for some recognition and respect.
Okay. Charles, your thoughts?
I gotta tell you, even for the last week, it has been kind of fun. I have to admit that, and I didn't think that. I still don't quite understand it, but it has been kind of exciting. That Boston Indianapolis Pacer game, which I did watch from beginning to end on Thursday, I think, or maybe it was Monday. Anyway, it was as exciting as game. It was a very exciting game for December in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to tell David, I was wrong about Halliburton. And I think today, right this minute, I was wrong about Brock Purdy. And David was right about both of those. I just want to acknowledge that to Mr. Burnett, our friend from Indianapolis.
Okay. Larry Abels, your thoughts on that situation?
I'm enjoying this. The first round seemed a little, dull to me, but once we got to the knockout round, it's pretty exciting. The games definitely have playoff intensity, and I think it's pretty good that we got two of the blue bloods with the Bucks and Lakers there against two upstarts. The Pelicans and the Pacers, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping the Pelicans and Pacers make it to the finals too.
Okay. Well,
one of the things we need to acknowledge, we acknowledge a lot of the young players like the guy from Minnesota, Anthony Edwards and Shea and Halliburton. But Zion Williamson right now, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, has been playing his behind off, and that's a pretty good thing to play off.
Well, he needs to play some behind off.
I know, but he is really, really, really playing well, and the Pelicans team now that McCullough's back. They're a tough out. They're really a tough out. They beat Sacramento.
You may remember last year they were actually probably amongst the top teams when Zion got hurt, and they kind of went down the drain after that. So, I was thinking about you, David, because Charles Barkley sounded. I almost thought David wrote Charles Barkley's script. He said he needs to get in better shape. And Kenny Smith said the same thing. They noticed that he jogs down the court instead of runs hard. So, if he can stay healthy, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Big F.
Okay.
Right. Before we get off of Zion, and I know Larry, you get on me for fat shaming him, but you can't continue to weigh 295 pounds. I'm sorry, he just can't. He would be so much better of a player if he was 30 or 35 pounds lighter. He would be much better. As good as he is, he would be a great player. But with that weight, he's always going to be at risk of injury, and he's not the player that he should be. And, for anybody to deny that is denying reality. Charles Barkley came into the NBA at 305 pounds. But the star, Charles Barkley, weighed 250 pounds. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess it's some sort of conventional wisdom, maybe that may or may not be true, that his size is the cause of his injuries, but we really don't know that. We got people that are a lot smaller that get hurt all the time too. So his main thing is he needs to stay healthy. If he's not hurt at this size, he dominates. He's just got to stay healthy.
He's a dominant player, but most of his injuries are in fact weight related. I mean, the little nicks and whatnot that happens. That's weight related. Because if he was lighter, he probably wouldn't have pulled it. So you're asking a big body. The reality is his fat content is probably 25% or 30%. That's too big. It's too big. And a 6'5" guy, that's all he is. He's 6'5". You can't be 300 pounds. I'm sorry. You can't.
Stop shaming David.
I'm calling it the way it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be so mean to the guy, but he's too damn big.
Let me ask you this, David. There's several players that you have a dislike for. All of them do not have a weight problem. My question to you is, has there ever been anybody that didn't have a weight problem? Have there ever been anybody that you just don't like and you eventually changed your view on them?
I'm willing to change my mind. If Zion Williamson, let me get back to Zion. If he drops down to 250, I'd be cheering like hell for him.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
On CJ Stroud. He admitted
CJ Stroud has played well, and I didn't believe he would play this well. He's played well, and I own that. I made a mistake.
The only reason why I asked the question that I asked you, because it's been like 2 years since Kyrie Irving has said something dumb, and you still hate him. You've hated him from the beginning. That is the only reason why I asked the question.
You know what I have a problem with Kyrie Irving? He thinks the earth is flat. I lost respect for him for that. Anybody who wants to espouse some nonsense, even if he was joking, shut the hell up, because you're stupid, and I can't respect you. Take that stuff back, because there's too many stupid people in the world now that would actually believe Kyrie Irving. Please.
You got him going.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I got him going.
What else you want to ask him about?
But if you think about it, that was a dumb question too. Why would I even ask that question? That was a dumb question. I apologize for the 2 dumb questions that I've asked on the show today, and we will move on from here. Okay. Lauren, do you think the Warriors, is it a possibility that the Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers do not make the playoffs? I'm not talking about the in-season bullshit. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm not talking about that tournament. I'm talking about the real tournament. Do you think they will not make the playoffs?
I can't say that the Warriors will not make it, because I have so much faith in Steph Curry, and I know that he can rally this team. I don't think that they're going to make it far. Maybe the play-in, I would say. But for the Lakers, I think they certainly could. The way they've been playing recently, especially, the Lakers can get there.
So Neil thinks it's a possibility that they won't.
Oh, my man Neil. My man Neil, how you doing, buddy? Neil said it's a possibility. Yes, we have the Abels family highly involved in the show, because they just know sports. What can I say? All right, Charles, do you think it's a possibility that the Warriors and the Lakers both do not make the playoffs?
I think the Warriors have a chance to not make the playoffs at all. It's not Steph. It's the other pieces just not.
Yeah.
It's not happening. But I definitely think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Definitely.
He probably thinks the Lakers are going to win a championship.
Exactly.
Sharif, if the Lakers don't make it, you say, you know why? Well, why is it that they won't?
Oh, no.
You going to turn her. She's like David. She's going to be like David. Except for he's not going to be overweight.
Okay.
She got a problem with somebody that gets hurt too.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, she doesn't like him.
AD, what's hurt today?
You guys.
Well, you'll get a chance to see this weekend. I mean, this as they get into that tournament, David. We'll see how you'll
Well,
take.
it's tomorrow night.
Yep.
The Pacers play at 5 Eastern time, 2 o'clock in Las Vegas, and I think the Lakers and Pelicans play at 9 Eastern time tomorrow.
Okay.
When is the
Hey,
championship?
Grace.
Is that Saturday?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Welcome, Trees, to the show.
Hey, Teresa Nicole.
Hey.
All right. Okay. I'm trying to find out whether I want to ask David this first or let him be the last one because I know he's going to elaborate on it very long. I'm going to save him for last. Charles, do you think that Halliburton from the Indianapolis Pacers should seriously be in the talk for all NBA first team point guard?
That's a tough one for me, Go, because I have come around on him a little bit. If the season ended today, would he be on the first team, which is 5 players? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
I would say, yeah, I guess I would say yes.
Okay. All right, Larry Abels, your thoughts on that situation?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think if he was named to that team, I think I could make a real good argument for him, as I could for other people too. But I think he's playing as well as anyone else. And one thing that, really, he gets all these double-doubles. He's got his first career triple-double on Monday night, but he gets double-doubles every night. But one thing that really stands out on top of all of that, the other night when he got his triple-double, zero turnovers. And he has a lot of games with it. You can count the turnovers on one or less fingers. So, long story short, I have no problem with him being on first team if we just stop the season right now.
Okay, Lauren, what are your thoughts on Halliburton?
I'm saying yes. He's been balling out. So if we're stopping the season right now, yes.
Well, Neil Abel says what guard is playing right now. I don't want to get. I don't want to get into that. I would take.
They're not playing better, but they're impacting their team as well. People like Shea.
All right, we've got everybody's opinion. David, you're the last person to make the case for Halliburton being.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say he's going to agree with everybody else.
Well, he got some more stuff to add to. He loves Halliburton.
Halliburton, I've been talking about Halliburton for a long time to you guys. It's taken me a while. And I think you may have seen the little video snippet that I recorded yesterday. When Michael Ray Wilbon, I must have written the script for him because he said Tyrese Halliburton is first team All NBA right now. And that's, of course, right now. And anybody who plays for the Indiana Pacers at this point, we're not talking about the Reggie Miller Pacers or the Pacers of the early 2010s. We're not talking about those Pacers. We're talking about a Pacer team that hadn't been very good for a while, for several years. Victor Oladipo tantalized us for a little while. Now his career is down the tubes. This is a really great player, but he's playing on the Pacers who don't get any media attention. I think they have one national TV game prior to this tournament that they were slated to be on national TV. So the Pacers have to win their way in, and Halliburton has to win with the Pacers to get the respect that he deserves. He is the first team All NBA guard now. If the Pacers are winning, if they win the tournament, if they show up in the playoffs and win a couple of rounds of the playoffs, he'll definitely deserve first team All NBA. But he's going to have to earn it because he's playing with the Pacers.
Okay, I'm just asking because I'm always just asking. Is Luka Doncic a point guard, considered a point guard? To is Luka Doncic a point guard?
Yeah, he's a point guard.
Okay.
And so's the guy that you apparently like, Fox. We all like him too.
See,
Halliburton.
Halliburton is great. He is playing great. I just can't put him on the first team All NBA over DeAndre Fox. That's all. That's all. I have to say.
And that, that's fair. It's a
lot of
it's
people we
fair.
can make arguments for right now.
But you gotta be part of a winning organization, and being on TV a lot and being talked about a lot. All of that factors into who gets to be All NBA. Those are factors, not just your play on the court.
Well,
It's
David,
how
I
you
don't know.
perceive.
I don't know. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander made first team last year.
Well, and I'm glad he did.
Oh,
I'm glad he did.
Speak, Andrew's right on time with it.
On
What's up,
schedule. On schedule. Hey, Andrew
Yep.
Stevens. Nice. Y'all timed that one perfect. Y'all timed that one
in
perfect.
fairness to the point that you're making, Oklahoma City, I cheer for them because all of the flyover cities I cheer for and hope do well, because Oklahoma City supports that team beyond anything a team should be supported. To my knowledge, they always sell out. When they had the big three, when they were young, they would sell out. That's a great sports town for basketball.
Okay. All right. Charles Stone, it's the end of the game. It's the end of the game right now today. Who would you rather have that ball in the last 10 seconds? Steph Curry or DeAndre Fox?
Steph. But that's a good question. But I still would go with Steph.
Lauren,
Steph.
DeAndre Fox or Steph Curry? Who you want to have the ball in the last 10 seconds of the game?
Steph.
David Burnett?
Steph Curry at this point, but he's 35, and we won't have the same agreement next year.
Larry Abels?
I'm gonna go with everybody else stuff. And I'm a Fox guy, but
Okay. All right.
Hey, Earl.
Not that anyone cares what I think.
what do you think?
At the end of the game, right now, today, you got to give that ball to DeAndre Fox. To me, if no thoughts about it. I don't care how far Steph shoot at the end of the game. I want that ball in DeAndre Fox's hands. That's just me.
Hey, I wouldn't be mad about that.
Okay, I think Charles and Larry and I touched on it, but I'm not quite sure. My memory's not the best. I'm old to see now. But I had not heard a lot of people in the media talk about this. And surprisingly, I really haven't heard a lot of people on this staff talk about it. I haven't heard anybody talk about it anyway. Why is no one talking about Orlando having the third best record in the NBA?
I brought that up last week. They don't have a named player, Go. I think they have a team, and the team is contributing, and they're quietly like 15 and what is their record?
14 and 6.
14 and 6 or something like that.
Yes.
And no one, you're right. No one's really talking about them at all.
Okay.
Well, I think if you kind of like follow the NBA stuff, they've been talking about them.
Have they?
They had that 8-game winning streak, and they've been getting a lot of notice. What's the guy that from Duke that was the rookie last year?
Pablo.
Yeah, he's probably like their biggest star.
Okay. I got to get some of the channels that Larry gets because I ain't heard nobody tell me.
I don't.
David, have you heard anything about Orlando?
NBA TV.
I've been following it. I mean, but again, this is the same thing. When your team hasn't been very good for a long time, it takes a while for media and the non-sports media to really follow you and understand and accept you. That's one of the problems of the NBA. They don't really market certain teams. Orlando Magic has been, even though they're in the state of Florida, they're also flyover country. They haven't been really good since Shaq was on the team 30 years ago.
Dwight Howard, when they had Dwight.
Well, they had Dwight Howard, but he moved on. So the Magic are kind of one of those teams they could be good for a while, kind of like the Pacers, good for a while, then they go into a lull, and then nobody's talking about them. You gotta be good for a sustained period of time, and the NBA has trouble having teams other than certain teams be good for a long period of time, unless you're the Lakers or Boston or teams like that.
Okay. All right, guys. So we have run out of time. I just want to get everybody's top 4, 5 teams before we go to closing remarks and wrap the show up. Let's start with you, Lauren. Who are your top 4 to 5 teams in the NBA?
All right. Top 5 teams. I'm going Bucks, Timberwolves, Celtics, and I'm putting the Lakers up there. Top 4.
What's wrong, Laura?
No, I
You're
I know
fine, Lord. Good choice.
as I get older, I know I stumble. My memory goes bad, but I thought that I had said the top 5 teams, and then she said the Lakers, and I'm confused.
The Lakers are doing really well right now.
Lord.
You're welcome.
Okay,
You should
Charles,
probably go to Chuck next. You should probably go to Chuck next.
the top 5 teams.
Boston. I'll still include Denver, even though they don't have their point guard. Minnesota, Bucks, Lakers.
Okay, Larry.
I got Boston, Minnesota, Bucks, Denver, and 76ers.
Okay, did I do you already, Dave? Did I do your 5?
No.
Okay,
I've got Boston, Magic, Philadelphia, Denver, and then OKC and Sacramento.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. We were doing great on our pace of the show, and then I got crazy and let it go on. We got to wrap this up. Does anyone have any closing remarks before we wrap it up? I'll start with you, Charles.
I don't have a closing remark this week. Sorry.
David Burnett, do you?
I do. I'm going to briefly talk about the Heisman Trophy, which is now a quarterback award predominantly. There's one player who, and again, you guys know I'm Mr. Naysayer oftentimes. I've been a naysayer about Michael Penix for a long time because he's been in college football, 20 years?
Same as Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing Bo Nix doesn't impress me one iota. I think it's got to if it's a fair contest, it should be Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jaden Daniels if it's fair. But what's fair? Nothing's fair in the Heisman Trophy. It's a overhyped, wrong award anyway.
Okay. Lauren?
No closing remarks. Just a thank you again for having me on. I love it. It's always a ball.
Larry Abels, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the NBA in-season tournament. I had my doubts about it early on, but I think it turned out to be a pretty good success, and it helped some of the players out. We all know that the winning team gets $500,000, but the team that loses the championship game, each player gets $200,000. The teams that lose Friday night in the semifinals or Thursday night in the semifinals, each of those teams get $100,000, and the teams that lost
Big money.
Last game get $50,000. The team that lost Monday and Tuesday. So for playing, only 2 teams are playing an extra game, and it's worth their while. And for some of the players, that's probably some good money for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, $500,000 is good money for anybody, to tell you the truth.
Right.
Say Merry Christmas.
Hats off to the NBA. They pulled it off.
Amen.
Kung Fu wants to be on again. I guess Larry will make that decision on whether we'll bring you back on Kung Fu. I enjoyed it.
It's up to me. Okay. Well,
because you're the reasonable one. You're the reason. No, Kung Fu, we will definitely have you back.
Basketball expert.
And we appreciate your support of all times.
Absolutely.
I have a closing remark, and then we're going to wrap it up. I just don't understand why they spend all this equipment on all this technology, video tapes and everything, but every week there's just an outrageous call. The official, there's always an outrageous call. Every week I watch a sports game, whether it be basketball or football. I mean, I don't understand why they just can't get it right. I mean, it's just obvious, blatantly wrong calls, and no one does anything about it. And I just don't understand. And that's my rant for the day.
Pass interference.
It's just been some outrageous calls, and I know they've been outrageous calls for the last 50 years I've been watching sports, 60 years I've been watching sports. But it just seems like it gets worse and worse. So, and I'm just not happy about it. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning into the show. It was a great show tonight. I mean,
Go.
the pace was good, but again, I let it go over. What can we do?
You did well,
thank
man.
everybody for coming
We had
in.
fun.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up, and everybody have a very blessed and productive evening. Thanks for everyone that was tuning in. Thanks for
Have a
everyone.
good birthday, Go. Have a good birthday
Yes,
this
happy
weekend,
birthday.
Go.
Thank you, guys. I'll try my best. I'll see you next week, and Charles Snowden will be our host. He's scheduled to be our host. Who knows? He might have to fly out to Indianapolis or something. Maybe him and David go play some. What's that game, David?
Golden State.
Pickleball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, you might have to fly out to Vegas.
Yeah, you know.
Ooh.
I'm not mad at him. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up. Hope everybody has a very blessed and productive evening. I'm out of here. We are out of here.
Shout out, LeBron.